Hello everyone, I hope you liked our last video about the Flame Trooper, and today we are going to keep on with that in-depth analysis and take another look at one of the more interesting and, in my opinion, the more powerful blasters in this game. It is of course the TL-50. Now this is a heavy repeater. It is Iden Versio's signature weapon, and it excels at close range run and gun combat. In this video we will be looking at only the version of the gun used by the heavy class, and not by Iden herself. So this is the last heavy repeater to unlock, and I really do think that it is worth the effort of getting there. Let's have a look at how much damage it deals. At close range, the TL-50 deals 20 damage to the body or 38 damage to the head. Now these values in isolation mean almost nothing unless you combine it with the rate of fire, which for this gun is also very, very high. From our calculations, it appears that the weapon can fire over 10 bolts each second, which is absolutely ridiculous when combined with the high damage. This means that it is capable of taking out another heavy trooper in less than a second with nothing but body shots. At close range, the DPS of this gun is absolutely through the roof. If you are landing those shots, whatever you're shooting at will die almost instantly. With headshots, you can kill a beefed up Wookiee warrior in less than a second as well. So now we understand that the damage and rate of fire are really supreme strengths of this gun. We have to ask about its ammo economy and its cooling power. Well, without any mods, the TL-50 can fire for 2.9 seconds before overheating. This really isn't a very long time compared to other heavy repeaters, so you need to keep a close eye on this. Fortunately, its cooling cycle is incredibly short, so by pressing the X button or the action key you can reset the weapon's heat very quickly compared to all of the other heavy weapons. Then of course there is the cooling mod, which is unlocked pretty quickly and enables you to fire for 4.5 seconds. This is a 50% increase in the amount of cooling power you have, and it actually makes a massive difference when you use this weapon. I would say that this is by far the most important mod to have on at all times, and it makes the cooling power of the repeater another real strength over the other options in the heavy class. So from where we're standing right now, the gun sounds pretty flat out amazing. But of course, like everything, it does have some key weaknesses as well. So let's have a look at those, starting with its spread and its recoil. Now when I say spread, I'm referring to the amount of deviation that shots have from your crosshair when you fire, which generally increases the longer that you hold the trigger. You can see this as your crosshair blooms outwards the longer you fire. Recoil, on the other hand, refers to the actual movement of your crosshairs. Usually they will drift upwards as you fire. So we can see here that this gun has quite a bit of both. Here I'm just going to hold down the trigger with no aim compensation and you can see what happens. One way to mitigate this is to aim down the sights or zoom in, and you will then notice that both the recoil and the spread are slightly reduced, keeping the shots tighter in grouping. This is made a lot more apparent the further away from the target you are, and we can see clearly that at longer ranges it will become difficult to land many of your shots, so keep this in mind and burst fire the weapon for maximum effectiveness at range. This brings us to our second major weakness of the TL-50, in that it has quite extreme damage fall off at longer ranges. As you move out from very close range, the damage will begin to decline quickly, until at medium to long range you will now only deal half damage. So that's about 10 damage to the body. With all this in mind, we can easily see that the strengths of this gun make it suitable for close quarters combat, and it will shred almost all enemies up close, but it is a lot less effective at longer ranges. That being said, it can still be useful if you lead the target properly and burst fire. That spread and the rate of fire in some ways actually becomes helpful, especially if they're moving and dodging around a lot, because you can kind of fill the air around them with blaster shots, making it hard to avoid all of them. The damage isn't high, but you're guaranteed to do something. We're going to finish off now by talking about the last two mods. Firstly, we have the reduced spread mod, and this is supposed to keep those blaster bolts in tighter grouping. But we can see from this comparison that the difference really isn't that much at all. There's no real reason not to take this mod if you don't want to equip one of the others, but it also doesn't really provide much of a benefit. The final mod here is a lot more interesting. It provides you with a secondary fire grenade launcher. This fires an orb of energy that creates an area of effect explosion. The maximum damage at the center of this explosion is 100, and the orb fires in a pronounced arc. Although this damage is not super high, it does have some other strengths. including an exceptionally large blast radius. You will still be dealing high damage if you miss by even a few meters, and even landing a shot this far away will still deal some minimal damage. Be careful however, because you can damage yourself with this explosion. After firing, this secondary fire has a brief cooldown period to prevent you from spamming it, and it also overheats your gun by a half. If you have the improved cooling mod equipped as well, which you always should, it will only heat up the repeater by 1/3. Now the biggest problem with this mod is that it disables your ability to aim down sights or zoom in, thus meaning you cannot constrict your blaster bolt spread at medium to longer ranges. This is really a trade-off that only you can judge as worthy or not, depending on your playstyle and how you really like to use this weapon. The secondary fire can be very useful to clean up low health targets at longer ranges or deal damage to groups, but it does further limit the range of the primary fire, which is already the greatest drawback of this gun. Another tip I can give is combine this with the gun shield of the heavy, and you'll be able to take down almost anything. Even if you get surprised by a Wookiee warrior around a corner, if you pull up the gun shield and hold down the trigger, chances are you will be able to take it down before he can take down you. So go out there and give it a try. In almost all of this background footage, I only have the first mod unlocked, and it was more than enough for me to dominate this match. Thank you so much for watching, and please let us know of your experiences with the TL-50 heavy repeater, and what other aspects of the game you would like us to investigate in the future. This was Ascendance from 4FS Gaming.